Hello and welcome back to Get Up and Game. My name is Josh, and in this video I'm very excited to be bringing you the final deck in Villain Theory's Unusual X-Men Decks series. A series of 8 decks, one for each of the X-Men heroes that features them in an unusual strategy compared to how they are normally played. Now, I know I haven't been posting a lot of content recently as I've become very busy, but when Villain reached out and asked me if I was interested in finishing the series that started on this channel with his Iron Maiden Shadowcat deck, I jumped at the chance and I said I will make time because I definitely want another crack at these awesome decks. I had a lot of fun with the Shadowcat one, and especially when he told me that this was going to be Rogue in Leadership. Leadership continues to be my favorite aspect, and I really wanted a chance to show off how awesome Rogue was anyway, because I think there's a general thinking out there with at least some of the players that Rogue is really only fun in multiplayer. Because of the way her superpower adaptation works and her touched abilities, it is really nice to have other heroes out there to make use of those. But in my opinion, that in no way takes away from the fact that she is among the best solo heroes because of her access to stun and confuse, her balanced stat line, and her just overall versatile hero kit. The fact that she is fantastic in multiplayer, in my opinion, takes nothing away from the fact that she is still super duper good in solo. And if you haven't tried her that way, I can't recommend it enough, and you're going to see why in this game. She can easily do all the cool things she wants to be doing, even in solo play. In fact, the only thing that holds her back from being a top tier hero for solo play, in my opinion, is having a great economy, because her kit does tend to be expensive, and she doesn't have any extra ways to help pay for them. But that's not going to be a problem because this deck is a flush with cash. That's right, this deck is all about generating resources. It's called Triple Your Profits because there is basically 3 different ways to get a ton of money to be able to play all of Rogue's somewhat expensive but very powerful cards. So let me show you the deck and you'll see how it works. So naturally, with this being a Strength in Numbers deck, we have 3 copies of Strength in Numbers, and you're going to see a whole pile of allies to go along with this. And one of the 3 pillars of tripling your profits is, of course, using the Strength in Numbers to draw a ton of cards. That just leads to more resources. And then along with that, most of the allies in the deck provide resources themselves. We get Ironheart, Maria Hill, White Tiger, Kalu, all allies that give you cards back. Beast will go get you a resource card. And then we have just a few other cheap allies that are very effective. Machine Man makes use of all the money this deck can do. Blade is just a nice cheap ally to have on the board. Same with Angel. And then Stinger allows you to get more allies on the board for wider strength in numbers, as well as a Triskelion. So it's pretty easy to get 4 or 5 allies on the board with this deck. Because Rogue is so tanky, she starts with 11 health, you could defend with her, she can ready and heal with energy transfer, that she can take the damage from the villain, and then you can use your allies to stay on the board to build up for strength in numbers. So you just draw a ton of cards by getting all these allies out, and that of course leads to the second pillar of money that this deck provides, which is Band Together. Very easy to get 3 resources out of this with so many cheap allies. And then, of course, Beast can keep fetching it for you for even more ridiculous resources. So the fact that a lot of Rogue's cards are kind of expensive in no way really hinders this deck because you just have access to tons of resources. And then the third pillar of tripling your profits in this deck is just having many resources on the table. Avengers Mansion, Clarity of Purpose, X-Gene, and Def Focus all go towards making sure you've got enough money just on the table alone to help you play most of the cards from your hand. And then one of the things I wanted to feature about it here is Gambit. It plays a very important role in this deck because Beauty and the Thief is such a good team-up card that you definitely want to be getting Gambit out as one of your 3 or 4 or 5 allies and keep him on the board so that you can play Beauty and the Thief whenever you draw it. Dealing 4 damage and removing 4 threat from a scheme is super good. And the other reason Gambit features so heavily is because superpower adaptation, if you attach Touched to Gambit, that's going to give you access to all of Rogue's very powerful hero-specific events that you're allowed to get out of your discard pile if Touched is on Gambit. but also by keeping Gambit in play. If you put touched on one of your basic allies, like Ironheart, Blade, or Angel, you could use Superpower Adaptation to get Beauty and the Thief back, which again is such a good card, 4 threat and 4 damage for 2, and having access to it potentially over and over and over. Superpower Adaptation. This deck is all about money, but it is also all about options. And that's just Rogue in general. Superpower Adaptation giving you access to your discard pile full of events. With a deck like this that gives you access to leadership and basic and your hero specific cards, Superpower Adaptation is always going to have a really good target. And then we do have one Make the Call, which is something else Superpower Adaptation could grab, though it could also grab a Strength in Numbers if you wanted it to, if it was attached to a leadership ally. And then of course the 3 doubles. So those are all the cards in the deck. And you really just want to start out by getting allies on the board so you can just immediately start exhausting them for Strength and Numbers. Take the first couple turns, kind of easy, just defend, manage threat, and use your allies to draw cards until you're able to get your resource generators on the board for guaranteed future resources. And then the deck just rolls. You're drawing 2, 3, 4 extra cards a turn with Strength and Numbers. Superpower Adaptation is giving you access to whatever you want to play in the moment. And it is an absolute blast. I'm going to play it here for you in a game against Kang. It really shows off how powerful and how much fun this deck can be. And I'm also going to link in the description all of the Unusual X-Men decks where you can find them, as well as videos from all the various content creators that have played all of those decks on YouTube. You can just watch and see how they all work. This has been an incredibly fun project, and I'm so thankful to have been a part of it. So a huge thank you to Villain Theory for thinking of me. And I'm really excited to show you how this deck works. So let's get right to the game. All right, just gonna give the decks a little shuffle on camera. Got Kang set up here in Standard. And I made sure to practice this matchup a fair few times for a couple reasons. One, because I wanted to make sure I piloted the deck well enough to show off how cool it is. But two, whenever I play Kang, I always feel like I'm doing something wrong, and I always run into questions because he's just one of those scenarios that has a lot going on. He's a little bit different, and I wanted to make sure I had everything fresh in my mind so that I hopefully play him correctly. Not saying I'm not going to make mistakes. I always miss a few things here and there in every playthrough. I try not to, but when you're talking and filming, it's just easy to forget to do things. So hopefully there's not too many mistakes, but I've practiced this thoroughly, and I feel like I've got a good handle on it. So we've got Kang set up here with the 1A side. It tells us to set a whole bunch of stuff aside, and I've got just piles of cards everywhere. The modular encounter set we're going to be using is Mystique, which is not one of my favorite modular encounter sets to play with, but I love the theme of Mystique chasing Rogue through time. I think that's a really cool idea, and it actually monkeys with this deck pretty well, so that should add an extra layer of challenge. And the potential for double Mystique, if you get Shadows of the Past, is real and terrifying. So I thought that would be a fun way to play this. Now it tells us to remove our obligation card from the game, so it is not in the encounter deck. And then we're going to flip over. His stage 1B starts with a 7 threat threshold, and it tells us to reveal an encounter card when we, or deal ourselves an encounter card when we reveal this scheme. And it starts with 0 threat, and if we get to 7 on here, we simply lose. If we can defeat Kang, he starts with 12 hit points. We go to the stage 2 of Kang, and then if we can defeat that one, we go to the stage 3. And then if we defeat that one, we win the game. So it tends to be a longer game, but I really enjoy it because it gives time to get your deck set up, and there's a lot of room for fun plays and such. And I know people tend to say that they don't like Kang in solo because it's just so cool multiplayer. And while I don't disagree that playing Kang multiplayer is really neat when everybody gets separated, I don't think that in any way takes away from the solo game, and that he's still a really fun villain to fight. It's still really interesting not knowing which of the second stage Kangs you're going to go up against. And so, I don't know, I think Kang's still really fun in solo. I don't think he's any lesser for the fact that in multiplayer he does do some really cool stuff. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and draw our opening hand. We'd really like to see Gambit and maybe some of our resource generators. Rogue's Jacket is nice. Oh, there's Gambit and a double. Okay, you saw me shuffle, but this is looking like a pretty nice start. We really like to get Gambit on the table early. And both my energy transfers, I don't love seeing that because this is a card I love to have kind of spread throughout the deck pass. This is becoming one of my favorite Rogue cards. I've been playing her a lot for this matchup and really coming to love her. She's climbing my ranks, but I always say that every time I play a hero a bunch, I start to like them more. So I guess that's just natural. So we definitely want the, we probably won't keep energy transfer, so I'll just go ahead and ditch that one I dropped because we don't need to heal. And so yeah, we'll mulligan both of those. We're going to keep Gambit in the double for sure. And the jacket is just nice, getting access to either 3 thwart or 3 attack. Super good. And we'll go ahead and keep Angel too, just because we want to get our board built up on allies if possible. And so we'll see how it goes. So we're going to draw 2 more cards. We got to make the call, which will probably be a resource, and a band together. All right, let's see how we're going to start this game off. I also need to remember to go get my touched upgrade. Got to find that in the deck and set it aside. We're lucky we didn't draw it on the mulligan, otherwise it just would have been 1 fewer card in our opening hand. So just kind of have that set there. Now the way I've been playing this matchup is I like to stay in Alter Ego on the first turn to really get a chance to build up, draw that extra card and avoid the attack. Because Kang only schemes for 1. This goes up to 7, but it doesn't start with any threat. So unless I draw an advance, which it is possible because you're getting 2 encounter cards on the first turn, but Kang's encounter deck is really big. So there's a really good chance you won't draw an advance in the first villain phase. And so you get a chance to stay in Alter Ego for the first turn, draw that extra card. So that's actually probably what we're going to do here. We're going to use the double resource here and make the call to get Gambit on the table. And of course he comes with the 3 charge counters, but we're not going to do anything with him this turn. We aren't afraid to use our allies. This is a strength in numbers deck. We typically want to keep the allies on the board. They can get a little damage though, but we definitely want to make sure Gambit doesn't die. And then as much as I would love to get Rogue's Jacket on the board, it'd be nice to get a couple allies to get a potentially good strength in numbers going soon. So Band Together will produce 1 resource for us because we have an ally, and then we'll just give up Rogue's Jacket to get Angel on the board. He is, of course, reduced by 1 in cost if you are playing a mutant. We'll set our encounter card over there. And we're not going to use those for anything. We're not in any hurry to defeat Kang. I like to stay on stage 1 for a minute. This is pretty easy to manage with this deck. And he's not that scary when he's attacking generally. So we're just going to stay like this. We're not going to activate anybody and just get a nice, easy start to the game. So we're going to draw up to 6 cards here. There's a strength in numbers. Nice. Some threat removal will be good. Kalu, Blade. So we're really getting the allies flowing like wine. Avengers Mansion would love to see a band together. Okay. We might not be able to get the mansion on the board. We'll see what we draw with strength in numbers. But overall, this is looking like a really nice start. And since we have Gambit in play, Superpower Adaptation gives us access to our hero cards if we want. So that'll be nice. So going into the first villain phase, we put 1 threat on the main scheme. Now, Kang does have a special ability when he attacks you, but there's nothing special when he schemes. So we don't have to worry about anything going on. So he's just going to scheme for 1, hoping for a low boost here. It doesn't get any lower than that. Long Shot. Did forget to mention Long Shot is in the deck, which is just so fun with this deck because he is another ally that doesn't count against your ally limit, which just really lets you build a wide board for some massive strength in numbers. It's too bad that he got discarded to a boost. I have had him in play for a couple of my practice games, and it has just been a lot of fun. But I'll take the 0 boost. That's nice too. So that only goes up to 2. But we do have 2 encounter cards. But we will survive in advance if that does come up. Oh, we get Frozen in Time attached to our identity. When attached character would ready, discard this card instead. Okay, that one's only mildly annoying. I don't mind that card too much. And Time Travel Hijinks. So we're getting the obligations rolling already. Discard the highest cost card you control. Oh man, this is the worst one, I think. So we're going to lose Angel because he is the same cost as Gambit. And we definitely want to keep Gambit. So that is unfortunate. But he's going to stay there, and then we can, while we're in Alter Ego, discard an energy resource from our hand to discard this, though we lose the card underneath. That's another reason why I like being in Alter Ego, staying in Alter Ego the first round, but also going to Alter Ego whenever possible against Kang, because when you do get the obligations rather frequently, you're already where you need to be to discard them. So we actually do have an energy resource if we want to discard the Time Travel Hijinks, which you really should. even if I didn't want to get Angel back, and I don't really care that much about that, but there are cards in Kang's deck that punish you based on the number of obligations you have in play, so it's generally good to just get rid of them. Though I was really looking forward to doing a strength in numbers for 2 or 3 potentially, and now that is looking less good. So probably not going to play the mansion at this point. So we're definitely going to use this as a resource, and then I just have to decide, do I just want to get a couple allies down, or do I want to start doing some work on the board? Because I could probably play Kalu and Blade if I wanted to. Let's see, could I play both of them and do a strength in numbers? So that'd be Kalu. Oh, I could. Go and Rogue would play Blade, then I could do a strength in numbers, draw 3 cards. And then that would hopefully draw me into some more cards I could play. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We'll give up these 2 to bring Kalu out. Oh, then I'm not getting, well, that's okay. I'm not that worried about it, I guess. And that's going to get me another card, hopefully. Yep, there's an event. Another event. Another event. So, oh, 4 events. None of them having the energy resource, so I guess we have just decided not to get rid of time travel hijinks. And one of these I can add to my hand. I don't know if it matters because I'm probably just going to use it. No, we're going to draw cards with strength and numbers, aren't we? So we are probably going to be able to play Southern Cross. So yeah, so we'll keep that one. We'll shuffle these back into the deck. This deck gives you so many options. It's actually been, I don't want to say challenging to play, because I don't know if that sounds negative or not. I don't mean it to. It's just, there are a lot of turns where I just stare at my hand and I cannot decide what I want to do because I have so many options. I've drawn so many cards. I have so many allies in play. Do you activate all of them? Do you activate a couple and do a strength in numbers with what's left? Or, you know, do you strength in numbers all of them? I never know what the best play is. So hopefully I play it well for the video here. But yes, we've got that. And then, so we could do a Going Rogue to take the threat off the main, but I'm going to go to hero form, so I'm not that worried about the threat, though that could confuse him. But I think my goal here, my plan, is probably to draw a few cards and then hit him with a Southern Cross and stun him, so we just don't have to worry about the next attack. So if that's the case, we're going to use Going Rogue to play Blade. So now we have 3 allies on the board, and what we really have is sort of the ideal setup for this deck. We have Gambit, which we really want. We have a leadership ally, and even better, it's an Avenger, and we have a basic ally. So when we do use the superpower adaptation, you know, if we have touch on one of these allies, we could either get Gambit, or we could either get hero cards back, we could get leadership cards back, or we can get the team up card, Beauty and the Thief, because we have access to all 3 of the designations, or what are they called, classifications. So this gives us our best options. And the nice thing about having the leadership one being an Avenger, as opposed to, say, Maria Hill, who is Shield, is if I draw Stinger, I'll be able to put touched on Kalu, then I'll have the Avenger trait, and that's a way to get Stinger on the board, which is nice for the purposes of having extra allies on the board because she doesn't count against your ally limit. So that's all really cool. And so far, there's been no good reason to go to hero form, so I won't do it just yet because there is an X gene in here. And if I draw it, it would be nice to have the option to play an alter ego, though I am currently planning on using all of these cards I draw to play Southern Cross, but we'll see. So I'm going to do a strength in numbers, exhaust any number of allies you control to draw 1 card for each ally exhaust this way. We're just going to exhaust all 3. Boop, boop, boop. So we're going to draw 3 cards. Another ally, Ironheart, Superpower Adaptation, and Deaf Focus. See, now we have a choice, because it would be really nice to get this Deaf Focus on the table, but then we are not playing Southern Cross. So if we did that, say Southern Cross paid for that, that just leaves this, which doesn't leave much, though we would have the Deaf Focus. We could still play, okay, this isn't the worst. Okay, I think we could do something fun here. So we're gonna flip to hero form, and we are gonna, I was gonna use this, but we'll just use it as a resource to get the Deaf Focus on the table. We really would really like to have that. And then now, okay, see, here's where it gets tricky. If I put touched on an ally to do a superpower adaptation, I don't then have touched on the villain to, you know, say I got Going Rogue back. I wouldn't be able to confuse Kang because it wouldn't be, I wouldn't have Retaliate, I would have Aerial. but I think I can do something else that could be fun. So we're going to put Touched on Gambit. And then we are going to play Superpower Adaptation. If Touch is attached to a friendly character, search its owner's discard pile for an event that belongs to the same classification, in this case, identity specific. So we are going to add a energy transfer into our hand. And since we played Deft Focus, we're going to be able to play it. But before we do that, I'm going to attack Kang with Rogue to get rid of his stuff. And then we're going to use the Deft Focus and this Ironheart in our hand to play Energy Transfer, attach Touch to a character other than Rogue. We're going to put it on Kang and deal 2 damage to them. So they're going down to 10 from 12. And we get to Ready Rogue. And we would heal her. She hasn't taken any damage yet, but this is just such a good card. The fact that you deal 2 damage, heal 2 damage, and ready her, you get so much work out of it. And the other thing that I think is so important with this is exactly what I just did. I was able to put Touched on one of my allies to get the benefit of Superpower Adaptation, but you often want Touch to end up on the villain because of her defense card really wants, you need the Touched on the villain for the defense card to work. So it's really nice to be able to use Superpower Adaptation and still hope, hopefully I'll draw a Bulletproof Bell and I have put Touched in the right place for that to work correctly. So, and now Rogue would ready, except we discard Frozen instead. So she is actually still exhausted, but that's fine. We were able to get rid of that. I feel like we still got a lot done. We do have this over here, not that big of a deal. I feel like we're getting really well set up. So let's go ahead and ready everything. Now, hopefully I do draw a Bulletproof Bell and will be perfectly protected in the villain phase. So we got White Tiger, the Triskelion, X-Gene, come on. Yes, Bulletproof Bell. Oh, I love this card. I tell you, I am just in love with Rogue. I have had so much fun. Oh, and all the money in the world. So much fun with Rogue. Playing this deck has been an absolute blast. I haven't filmed the intro of this video yet, a little behind the scenes for you, but I plan on talking about how great Rogue is in solo, largely because I think there are some players out there who just sort of assume that she's only good in multiplayer because Superpower Adaptation works really well, taking other heroes' cards. That is obviously very cool, and it is better in multiplayer, and she also can't access Stalwart outside of multiplayer, so she doesn't get the benefit of that either. So she is fantastic in multiplayer, but she's still so good in solo. Access to Stun and Confuse, good stats. Hopefully I already said all that in the intro if I don't forget. But, she's just so great. She's still so great in solo. So we're adding 1 threat to the main, going to the villain phase here. So now Kang is attacking. When he attacks, we're going to play Bulletproof Bell. Now I just have to decide how I want my resources to work out here. So if nothing goes wrong, band together, we'll be able to play White Tiger. So that'll get us a card back. So I guess I'm giving up either the Triskelion or X-Gene. Triskelion is so good for this deck because you want as many allies on the board as possible. X-Gene is obviously really nice because the whole theme of the deck is getting as many resources as you can, and having them on the table is nice. Plus, X-Gene can pay for future Bulletproof Bells, which is great, whereas Deft Focus, I can't use this to pay for Bulletproof Bell right now, unfortunately, even though it's a superpower, because Deft Focus is an action. So really what I'm just trying to decide here is, do I think I'm reasonably going to make it down to Alter Ego next turn to pay for X-Gene? And actually, if I play this, I'm not going to have the because I'm going to draw a card with White Tiger. So I could have the resources to play X-Gene if I wanted to go to Alter Ego. And I think there's at least a decent chance because I could easily remove all the threat. He won't be confused, but yeah, I think I'm more likely to play X-Gene. So yeah, so we'll go ahead and use the Triskelion to pay for Bulletproof Bell. So when an enemy with Touched attached to it attacks, which is why it was so important we got Touched on the villain, prevent all damage from that attack and gain a tough status card. So it's setting up the lasting effect of preventing all the damage from this attack, and then we are getting a tough status right now. So he's attacking, and when he attacks, we have to decide to either give him 1 threat on the main scheme or he gets +2 attack for this attack. And so I am going to give him the +2 because he's not going to deal me any damage anyway. So he's attacking for 2, 3, 4. Glad to see that gone. But we just take no damage, and then we'll keep our tough. And now we just have one encounter card, which is going to be Future Weapon attached to Kang. When he attacks, the attack gains overkill, and if it damages a hero, the hero is stunned, and then this goes away. So we'll just kind of, well, you know what, Touch is going to come off of him anyway. So we'll just put that right there. So now he's attacking for 4, potentially 6, and with overkill. But we're not really chump blocking. We're hopefully just going to let it hit the tough and then go away. So that is what hopefully happens. So now what we want to do is kind of use up our allies a little bit, because we're going to have to drop 1 in order to put White Tiger on the table. That's definitely something you're going to be doing with this deck. There's a lot of allies, and since you're not always using them up with their, you know, activations, taking the damage because you're exhausting them to strengthen numbers, they tend to stay on the board, and you just sort of overwrite them with the new allies that come into play. So we definitely want to get that threat down. We're going to have Rogue Thwart for 2 and Kalu Thwart for 1, just to get that down to 0. And, you know, while we're at it, we'll go ahead and have Gambit attack for 2, plus we'll spend one of his charge counters for an extra damage, because we do want to be chipping away at Kang. So he's down to 7. Gambit's going to take a damage from that. Now that we have done those things, we'll go ahead and use Band Together, which is worth 3 resources because we have 3 allies. We're going to use that to play White Tiger, and after we play her from our hand, we get to draw X cards equal to the villain stage number. We're playing on standard, or even if we weren't playing on standard with Kang, he'd be villain stage 1. So with that, or she's going to come into play. We're going to discard Kalu. It's fine. Just get him back later. She's coming to play. She's going to let us draw a card, which is going to be Bulletproof Bell. I hate to give up this card, but we're planning on going to Alter Ego anyway. So we'll just use it for a resource. And now do we want to use White Tiger? Yep, we'll go ahead and just attack. Oop. You only have to exhaust her once. We'll attack with 2. Get Kang down to 5. Blade usually just kind of sits there for me. I like to just have him there for strength of numbers. I don't usually want to discard physical resources from my hand, but you know, if you have one left over, you certainly could use them. And now we're going to go down to Alter Ego. And now that we have the mutant trait, we can discard this to get the X gene on the table. So now we've got 2 of our resources, and these are just so nice, being able to pay for so many of Rogue's cards. Like I said, especially nice having X gene to be able to pay for Bulletproof Bells. But these 2 will pay for an energy transfer or go a long way towards paying for a Southern Cross. Really, really nice. We never attached Touch to anything, but we didn't need to, and if we had, it would now get set aside because we went to our Alter Ego. And that is going to be that. Hopefully we can get rid of this maybe when we stand up on the next phase. So going to the villain phase, this gets 1. Kang is only scheming for 1 plus 0, but he does get a tough status. That's fine. We're not too worried about that. And our encounter card is going to be another obligation. I have to use a basic hero power. Oh, I didn't draw my cards, by the way. But so I'll do that in a second. But yeah, so if after you use a basic hero power, take a damage, and you have to discard a fist resource. So hopefully out of the 6 cards I'm about to draw, I totally forgot to do, I'll have a lightning and a strength resource. Or physical resource. I don't feel too bad about giving up, which I definitely have at least one of those. So we can get rid of those. Okay. So we definitely don't want those obligations hanging around. Taking damage every time you use a basic hero power is very bad. And like I said, I don't really care that much about getting Angel back, but it would be nice to not have that obligation. So I've got to strengthen numbers, so that's potentially a 3 card draw. 4 if we decide to play Stinger, which I currently can't, but if I put Touched on White Tiger, I would have the Avenger trait, and then I could play Stinger. The other way you can play Stinger in this deck is there's one Make the Call. And so you can get her out that way as well, because that just ignores the trait restrictions. Beast is always nice. Kang's only at 5, so he's easy enough to defeat kind of whenever we want to. But we're not, like I said, we're not in that big of a hurry. There's only 1 threat on the main scheme. So the Beauty and the Thief, even though we could play it in hero form, you know, it's a little bit of overkill removing 4 threat from a scheme. So I think this is going to be our lightning resource we're going to discard, or energy resource. I always call them the wrong thing. Gets rid of that, which is we'll put Angel in our discard pile. Now, if we want to, we have 2 strength and numbers. We don't need 2 of them, so we'll discard 1 for the physical resource. gets rid of this. So just keeping the board clear of obligations. We still don't need to heal. So we're going to just flip to hero form. And really from here, the only other things we're looking for to get on the table, there's a clarity of purpose that would be nice. You know, we're not going to get our jacket back until we cycle back around. Other than that, at this point, it's just draw cards and deal damage to win the game. Like, we set up really, really fast. Having these two out is super nice. We've got our 3 allies, and we would like to get a 4th with Stinger because that just really powers up strength in numbers even more. So that being said, maybe if we put touched on White Tiger, that gives us the Avenger trait, so we could play Stinger, which means we're probably not going to have the resources for Beast or the space on the table for that matter. So let's go ahead and use, there's probably such a good way to do this because I'm going to draw 4 cards with strength in numbers. And so maybe I do keep Beast because he's going to give me access to Band Together, which is going to give me more resources. So it comes down to, am I planning on playing Southern Cross and just finishing Kang off and moving on to the next phase, or do I want to wait a little bit longer? I think I just want to wait a little bit longer. I'm just not in that big of a hurry. I'm having a lot of fun already with this game, and so let's not try to rush it. So we use Southern Cross as a resource to get Stinger out. So now we have 4 allies, which is so very nice. So now we can use strength in numbers for 4, and we are going to go ahead and do that. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And White Tiger does have damage. So if we choose to play another ally like Beast, we'll probably just discard White Tiger. It'll be nice to shuffle her back into the deck because she's only going to draw us more cards later. So we are drawing 4 cards. So we got Southern Cross, so we can still do that if we want to. Going Rogue, Machine Man, who's super awesome in this deck, and Energy. Okay, so we've got a whole new hand of cards. Though our allies are exhausted, we could easily get Beast on the board, say like this. No, he's 4. Math is hard. Say it like that, and then that would get us a Band Together, which would pay for a Southern Cross, and then we could finish Kang off. I don't see any reason not to do that. One thing that does make this matchup a little bit challenging is because of the nature of Kang, where he leaves play and the new one comes in. There's no point in me trying to end the round with touched on Kang, you know, in the hopes of setting up for a bulletproof bell, because it's touched is just going to fall off of Kang anyway. So that's been an interesting thing I've noticed about this matchup. You know, normally when you play Rogue, got to get touched on the villain as often as you can in case you draw that amazing defense card. But in this case, we're already tough, so it's not a big deal anyway. So yeah, let's go ahead and use these 4 resources to play Beast. We're going to overwrite White Tiger here, which is going to set touched aside. Or actually, technically, it gets discarded, I guess. And then we'd have to find it on our next hero phase. And then, so Beast's going to come into play. He goes and finds a resource for us. So we will go get Band Together. So ridiculously good. So now we can play Southern Cross. We could still use Beast. Though the funny thing about Kang is you kind of tend to run out of stuff to do on the turns where you're going to knock him out, because the new one doesn't come into play until after the hero phase is over. So you can only really do so much. So we're just going to use Rogue to knock the tough off of Kang. Then we'll use Band Together, pay for Southern Cross. We don't have any of the special features, but it doesn't matter. We're just going to deal 6 damage to him. And that is going to be enough to knock him out because he's only at 5. So this disc gets so that gets discarded. And, you know, Kang goes away at the end of the phase. This disc gets discarded. He went down to 0. And so there's no point in removing that threat. There's no point in using Beast because all that's going to go away anyway. So we're going to go ahead and end the hero phase. I'm going to draw our 5 cards, which is almost going to end our deck. So we've got 5 there. You definitely get through it pretty fast with this deck. You draw a lot of cards. Ready, everybody. And now we're going to advance the main scheme to stage 2 at the end of the phase. So he goes away because he was defeated. This gets advanced to stage 2. The Master of Time, when revealed, place 1 acceleration token here for each side scheme in play. We didn't have any. Then the side schemes would get discarded. And then it tells us each player reveals a random stage 3A in turn order. and then we remove any unused stage 3 schemes from the game. This is where obviously it is very cool in multiplayer. Everybody gets their own stage 3 and you get separated, but like I said, I just don't think that takes anything away from the solo game at all. It's still a really fun fight. So I've played against all 4 of these in my practice games. I made sure to just get my way through all of them. So I ended up with the Present Future War this time. So create your own game area and place this scheme in it. Add Kang Scarlet Centurion to the game area and deal yourself an encounter card. So we're going to get an extra encounter card and we're going to get the Scarlet Centurion. So let me go find that one. That is right here. So he comes in with toughness 3 attacks. So this is the hard hitter and the easy schemer, which is actually something I forgot to do. I have been enjoying being an alter ego when I defeat the Kang, if possible, so that, you know, they just come in and scheme. And, you know, this goes up to 9, so it's usually fine. But in this case, I can't remember if I started that turn in alter ego and flipped up, but either way, it's fine. We'll be in hero form. We're tough. And he has piercing. Oh, he has piercing. Never mind. Well, that should make for a fun challenge. So he has 18 hit points. Go this way. And toughness. And this starts with 2 threat. Goes up by 1. And if it gets to 9, we don't lose the game, but we do get one of these Kang's Dominion side schemes when we move on to stage 3. And it says he can't take damage. You have to remove 3 threat from it, and then you get an encounter card when you defeat this. A very common strategy against Kang is, of course, just letting that happen, because it's probably easier to remove the 3 threat from Kang's Dominion and get an extra encounter card than it is to deal 18 damage to the stage 2 Kang while also trying to manage the threat. I personally just enjoy the challenge of trying to defeat the Kang, so I always, you know, still try to attack. I don't purposely go out of my way to lose the scheme. I also maybe won't work super hard to manage it. So we'll just see how it goes. But so far, I've just been defeating all the stage 2 Kangs. So that's my plan. So he comes into play, and I think we've got everything set up. This stage 2 just kind of stays off to the side, waiting for us to come back to sort of our time. We've gone into the future here. And so now he is going to attack us for 3 plus a boost with piercing, which is really unfortunate. I don't have a bulletproof bell, but actually wouldn't matter because touched isn't on him anyway. And so we have to decide. We're at full health. We haven't taken any damage yet. And pretty much you just want to use Rogue as a tank in this deck. You know, she either defends and then readies with energy transfer, or maybe you don't even ready. You just defend and reduce damage. She can heal later, or you just take the hits because she has plenty of health and, like I said, can heal later. So this could potentially be a big hit, and we're getting 2 encounter cards. So I think if he attacks us a second time, I'll consider defending or maybe even chump blocking. I wouldn't mind terribly throwing Blade under the bus if we needed to. But we're just going to go ahead and take this hit. So it's for 3, 4, 5. So it was a pretty big hit. So we go down from 11 to 6. And then we'll see what he has in store for us here with our 2 encounter cards. Oh, that does clear my tough away, which is just really sad. And first card is, oh, he gets his future weapon right back. So the Kang of our time sort of passed it through the portal with us, I suppose. So now we're really in trouble if he wants to attack us, because he's 5 with overkill, and he would stun us if he damages us. So that's all bad. That's a real bad combo there. And we get the time travel tactics, where each player takes 1 indirect damage for each obligation in their play area. This is the card that sort of makes you want to make sure you keep them off the table, even if they're not bothering you that much. This could potentially do 2 or 3, maybe more indirect damage, which could be bad. But in this case, all it does is surge. So we're going to surge into Temporal Shield. He is just teching up here. He gets this attached to him, and when he's attacked, we discard it, and that's going to prevent all the damage from the attack and deal 1 damage to the attacker. Now, one thing I have bumped into in my practice plays that I should have got an answer for, I just sort of have to figure out the interaction between the Temporal Shield here and the Tough status, because this happens when he is attacked. So if I would choose to attack Kang, this would immediately trigger, and it's going to prevent all damage from the attack, but Tough also wants to prevent all the damage from the attack, and typically Tough happens before, you know, these attachments, but Tough wouldn't come into play until the damage is being dealt, and by then this has already triggered because it was when they were attacked. So The way I end up playing it when we get to it may or may not be perfectly correct. We'll see. I'm going to do my best. So let's see what we're going to do next. Okay, I think this is going to be a very, very cool turn. So what we're going to do is we're going to use Beast to attack Kang. Now, when Kang is attacked, discard Temporal Shield. Okay, it's discarded. Prevent all damage from this attack and deal damage to the attacker. I'm assuming that the way I'm going to play it is none of the damage, since it's all being prevented, Tough doesn't even need to come into play because this happened when he was attacked. So this triggers before the Tough does anyway. So this is going to get discarded. He takes no damage. He keeps his Tough. Beast takes a consequential, and then he takes 1 damage from the Temporal Shield. Then we are going to use Stinger to hit Kang to deal a damage to remove the Tough. And he doesn't have Retaliate, right? Nope, that's a different one. Okay, so now that he is a little bit more vulnerable, we can start playing some cards from our hand. We can do a lot of cool things. This is where this deck gives you so many options. Having this in your hand just gives you such an array, especially when almost every card is in my discard pile. Like, I could get pretty much any event back I want to, and so that gives me a wide range of things I want to do. But the main event you want to get back, oh, speaking of that, I should have found Touched at the beginning of the player phase and set it aside, so we get Touched back. What you often want to do with Touched is you put it on Gambit so that you can get Southern Cross, because Southern Cross is just so good. So we're going to use Superpower Adaptation. Oh, but I need to get Touched onto the villain if I want to stun and confuse him. Tricky, tricky, tricky. Well, we might just not stun and confuse him. We might just hit him really, really, really hard. So I think that's what we're going to do. So yeah, we're going to use Superpower Adaptation. That lets us get a card back into our hand. So we get Southern Cross. And now we have the Aerial trait because Touched is attached to a ally. So this is going to deal 8 damage. So we could easily do that here. And we also, you know what, actually, I wanted to play Maria before I did any of that. Sort of slipped my mind. So we're going to go ahead and play Maria. That might actually change what I do with Superpower Adaptation. We'll see what I draw. That's going to overwrite Beast. That's going to, oh, I'm glad I didn't play it first, actually. Because otherwise I would be shuffling my deck into my discard pile. Reverse that, you know what I mean? So that worked out that I forgot to do that. So yeah, we're going to draw a card, which is going to be Clarity of Purpose. Get us an encounter, and we're going to shuffle. So in the end, that all worked out the way it was supposed to. So we have that. So we have, here's our hand. So we still have Def Focus and X Gene. So what I want to do is basically we're going to hit Kang really hard. We're going to remove the threat, and we're going to go to Alter Ego and just avoid this massive, massive attack that he is storing up. I don't want anything to do with that. So we're going to have, we got our encounter card. We're going to have Maria remove this 2 threat, which takes consequential. We're just going to use Band Together for 3 resources to play Southern Cross. It's going to deal 8 damage. So he goes down to 10. Very nice. We'll go ahead and use Gambit and Rogue to deal 5 more damage. Gambit takes another damage, gives up another of his charge counters. Touched is still on Gambit. We don't have the physical to use Blade if we wanted to. Instead, we're just going to use Going Rogue. I could play Going Rogue, but I just chose to remove the threat with Maria instead to get clarity on the table, just so we have all of our table resources really well set up. And then next turn, we should be able to flip up and defeat Kang and move on. So yeah, we're going to flip down, avoid this big, big hit. We do have 2 encounter cards, which isn't great, but there's plenty of room on the main scheme. He only schemes for 0 anyway. We should be fine. We might even get to recover next turn. So we're going to draw our 6 cards. Angel, Strength in Numbers, nice. Triskelion, Bulletproof Bell, Superpower Adaptation, and an Energy Transfer. Oh, it's just so many options. These two together really, really work well because you want to use your ally to get the thing back, but then you want to use this to get the status. So lots and lots of cool stuff. Love what's happening here. So ready, everybody? Okay, I'll make sure we keep Gambit alive. So this is going up to just 1. Kang is going to scheme for 0 plus 2. We can live with that. Goes to 3, and then we do have 2 encounter cards. Let's see what he's going to do. Caught Off Guard, we're going to discard an upgrade or support we control. We'll just go ahead and discard Touched. No big deal. And secondly, oh, he is going to scheme. We've finally seen Advance, but we should be just fine. Scheming for 0 plus 3. Oh, and there goes Mystique. Happy to see her gone. Though we're going to be seeing another version of Mystique very soon. That is a 3 more threats. This does go to 6 of 9. And that is the end of the villain phase. So now we just need to deal 5 damage to this Kang, and we get to move on to the 3rd phase. And there's any number of ways we could do this. If we really wanted to, we don't even need to come out of Hero or Alter Ego, I mean, to defeat him. We could just defeat him with our allies, stay in Alter Ego, though that is a little riskier because he comes in with a stage 3, he schemes for 3, and the final stage, well, that does go up to 10, but you also have your Nemesis minion, so I have done that. Started the 3rd stage in Alter Ego, but it is risky, plus Gambit would have to die to make that work, so probably instead, we can't count on Bulletproof Bell because Touched won't be on the villain. Yeah, this is the weird thing about Kang. Just the timing of when you defeat him really monkeys with your plans. So it's no big deal. We're going to go ahead and exhaust Rogue because we're going to be able to defeat him pretty easily without her, I think. So we're going to exhaust her to heal for 3. We're going to change the hero form. I mean, we have so many resources. We're going to be able to draw so many cards. We can pretty much do whatever we wanted, to be honest. We could easily Superpower Adaptation to get, we get Touched back. Get our Southern Cross. That would be one way to defeat him, and then we wouldn't have to use Gambit's 3 attack. Definitely want to get the Triskelion on the board will be nice. Might just play Angel and Overwrite Blade because we don't really need him just sitting there. At least Angel can attack. I do like the idea of using Energy Transfer just to heal Rogue a little bit more. And it's so easy to pay for with the Def Focus and the X Gene. So if we play this, that'll heal her. And then she can contribute towards knocking him out. We can use Blade. He just gets discarded. Bulletproof Bell pays for Triskelion, but we still want to do a Strength in Numbers as well. Okay, so let's do the Def Focus and the X Gene. I'll just sort of exhaust both of those. Do an Energy Transfer, attached Touch to a Rogue character other than Rogue. Deals 2 damage to them, so he's going down to 3. And then Rogue readies and heals, so she goes back to full. Very, very nice. And now he is only at 3, so easy to defeat however we want to do it. So let's do a Strength in Numbers with Maria and Stinger because we're just not going to need their activations. Or Gambit, actually, because we don't want Gambit to die, right? So yeah, we'll do Strength in Numbers for 3. We draw 3 more cards. We get the Mansion, the Strength. Give me a band together. Okay, well, it's just nice having those 3 resources. It's so easy to play the Mansion. Though we still probably could, like just these 4 right here could pay for the Mansion. There's really no reason to hold on to Bulletproof Bell because we're not going to be able to use it anyway. Superpower Adaptation might be nice to put, because I haven't used my hero power yet to put Touch, so I could put Touched on Gambit and just have a Southern Cross in my hand ready to go for next turn. Alternatively, I could just hold on to the Superpower Adaptation till next turn and then use it to get a Strength in Numbers back with a Leadership ally, and then just draw a ton of cards next turn. That is often a good move. So let's assume we're keeping Superpower Adaptation. The only other things I really want to do is, would be nice to get the Triskelion down and maybe Angel, but he's really not that crucial. So let's go ahead and play the Mansion. We use 1, 2, 3. I keep thinking 3 resources is 4. I don't know why. There we go. 4 resources. Play the Mansion. Go ahead and draw a card. Get another energy transfer. Oh, that'll be tempting to hold on to. I just love that card. I don't want to waste it. Yeah, I think I might just play the Triskelion and hold on to these 2 for next turn. Though we do still need to defeat... Oh, we're going to use Blade and Rogue to defeat Kang. And then we will be down an ally if we do that. Oh, I could use... Oh, you can't use Clarity to save Blade. Darn it. Otherwise, I could just play Angel. Nah, it's not that big of a deal. We're going to use Angel to play the Triskelion just so we have a room for a future ally. Make sure it's... Okay, there's room. If we want it, I'm going to hold these 2 for next turn because it's really nice. And then we're going to use Rogue to attack for 2. And Blade... He's the only one I've left, right? Yep, to attack for 2 more. That will be enough to bring this Kang to 0. We don't have a punch resource from our hand, so Blade's going to go away. But the important thing is we have 3 allies, so band together is worth 3. And so that's going to get touched, is going to get discarded. This is going to go away. At the end of the phase, everything's going to switch over. So I just have to decide if there's anything else I want to do, and there is not. So we're just going to end hero phase, pick up a whole stack of tokens. We're going to hold on to these because I think they're both going to be very useful for next turn. And just draw back up. This is going to be very good for next turn. So we're going to be able to play Southern Cross twice potentially if we want to with Superpower Adaptation. See, you don't need other heroes in play for this to be good. Her cards are plenty good enough to get back. So it's the end of the player phase. So this Kang goes away. This main scheme goes away. And so now we go to stage 4, reveal Kang and add him to the game area. So we're grabbing this one. He comes in with tough. He has the same general thing where you either have to give him an extra threat or +2 attack when he attacks you. But we also have to deal with something else. If we had any Kang's Dominions, we would have to reveal them now, but we don't. When revealed, each player searches the encounter deck discard pile and set aside area for their nemesis minion and puts into play engage with them. Shuffle the encounter deck. So that's not great. So we do get Mystique because that is Rogue's nemesis. She has toughness and villainous. And when she engages you, we have to search the encounter deck discard pile and set aside area for a copy of the Misled Treachery and shuffle it into our deck. So she is already causing us trouble. So we get this Misled card. It's going to go into our deck. And when we draw it into our hand, it's going to add 2 threat to the main scheme. And it does only go up to 10. So we do have to be cautious. This deck draws a lot of cards, so that Misled's going to find its way into our hand very soon, and then it's going to add 2 extra threat to the main. So you have to be really careful when this particular matchup. All right, so I shoveled that in. Oh, I saw where it was. It was on the bottom. I didn't need to see it. All right, I'm looking away, shuffling again. Okay, I didn't look at all. There we go. So I can't see it. I don't know where it is. Great. So that was that. It comes in with 0 threat, goes up by 1 a turn, only goes to 10. And that was all at the end of the player phase. So beginning of the villain phase, this goes to 1. Now Kang is attacking. We have to either give him threat or extra attack. We're at 11. Plus we're going to be able to heal with energy transfer. So I'm probably just going to take both of these attacks to the face. So we're going to put 1 threat on the main. I'm not going to give him 2 extra attack. And then he's attacking for 2. He gets a tough. Haha, joke's on you. Already has a tough. Sorry, I'm just bunching up my cards here. And knocking my tokens everywhere. There we go. We're back in good shape there. Okay, so that was a total of 2 attack. So we're down to 9. And now Mystique is attacking. And she is villainous. So she's attacking for 1 plus a boost of 2 more. So she also hit us for 3. So we're down to 6. And after all that, we still have an encounter card, which is, oh, Macrobots. Darn it. Oh, the last thing I wanted to see was a guard right now. 4 health. Shoot. I think it was very possible we could have just killed Kang this turn, but it's less likely with that Macrobots in the way. Well, we're going to start out, of course, using the mansion to draw a card. Oh my goodness, another Southern Cross. Okay, I think we should be able to make this happen. I haven't done the math, but Mystique doesn't have guards, so we don't have to kill her. We just got to get rid of these stupid Macrobots and then deal 20 damage to Kang plus remove his tough. And so the way I'm going to start out attempting to do that is by exhausting Stinger and Maria for strength in numbers, because we're going to want Gambit's 3 attack. But I don't think I need those two. I mean, I could clear the tough with one of them or whatever, but I think it's better to draw a card. So we're going to draw 2 cards. Strength in numbers, getting a Band Together, very nice, and Ironheart. So we could play another ally if we want to. So maybe we'll have her ping the tough then, because we've got so much money. Like Band Together, this will pay for 1 Southern Cross. These 3 would pay for another. Southern Adaptation would get another one back, assuming I had the resources to play it. But I'd have to kill this Macrobots as well. So what I'm going to do for that is, actually, I don't know that we are going to play Ironheart, because I really want to play Energy Transfer. So the first thing I'm going to do then is have Rogue attack. Oh, I can't attack him to defeat the tough. Oh, shoot. Okay. Then I guess I should have had Stinger and Maria. I forgot. I didn't plan out all the way in my head. All right, that's fine. That's fine. We will just play Ironheart. That's going to get rid of Maria. She comes in. She draws us a card. Oh, actually, it's not going to get rid of Maria because we have the Triskelion. I don't know if that matters, but it's fine. And actually, we had room anyway, right? Well, yeah, sorry. We draw Beast. Okay, that's interesting. That might change some things, because now we could easily play Beast with like Clarity and Band Together and just get Band Together right back. I don't like mathing out turns all the way through. It's just, I don't know, it's not that fun. I probably should, because there's a best way to do this. But I prefer to play tactically, and right now my biggest issue is with the Macrobots. So, yeah, nobody can ping the tough. I don't know why I keep thinking I can just ping that tough. The guard is no, I have to kill the guard. That's the most important thing. All right, I think I'm going to do this because I don't feel like figuring out the whole thing ahead of time. Where did my touched go? Is it in the discard pile again? Yes. Okay, we're going to put touched on the Macrobots. Then we are going to use Band Together to play Southern Cross, since we have touched on a minion. That means our attacks gain overkill. So this is going to deal 6 damage with overkill, and the 3 resources from the Band Together pays for that. And so the Macrobots are defeated. We take no retaliate. This gets discarded, but that's fine. And that pings the tough off of Kang. Okay. Now, Kang is vulnerable. So we're going to attack him for 2 with Rogue. He went up to 20, by the way, and now he is down to 18. We are going to use Deft Focus and X Gene. I'm certain there are going to be comments saying there was a better way to do this, but man, there's so many options. It's really hard to math out the best way to do it. We're going to play Energy Transfer, attach touch to a character other than Rogue, and deal 2 damage to that character. Down to 16. It's going to ready Rogue and heal her for 2. Which then we can use Clarity, Beast, and Superpower Adaptation to do another Southern Cross. Deals 6 more damage and is going to stun him because we have Retaliate now. So he is down to 10 and stunned. Ironheart attacks for 1, down to 9. Yeah, I feel like with access to 3 Southern Crosses, there was probably definitely a better way to do that. But man, that guard really messed me up. So I feel like we're fine. He's stunned. Mystique can attack us, whatever. And we'll just save Gambit for next turn. We could attack for 3 more, but there's no reason to take Gambit off the board right now. Oh, and we can use Rogue one more time. I'm out of red. We'll go to green to do 2 more damage down to 7. So we got close to knocking him out in 1 turn, and maybe there's a way to do it. But we got pretty close. So that's that. We're going to draw 5 cards. Oh, there's the Misled. So that's going to put 2 threat on the main scheme. Well, wouldn't that be a terrible way to lose? So that goes up to 4. Yeah, so shouldn't be hard to muster up 7 damage next turn, I don't think. And then this just takes up a spot in my hand, wasting a resource. This goes to 5. Kang is stunned, though Mystique is going to attack for 1 plus Villainous. I'm at 8 health, so I'm just going to take it. So it's 1, 2, 3. So down to 5, 7, 6, 5. And our encounter card is, this is going to get shuffled into our deck, and Surge. And if we draw it, we lose an ally or a support. So I'm looking away, don't know where it ended up. Put it right to the top. And then that's going to surge into another one. Goodness. So just do it again. Just really want to see what our last actual encounter card is so I can know if I get to win or not. And next up is Time Travel Hijinks. Time Travel Tactics. Hijinks is a completely different card. This is going to surge, and we take no damage into... what? I don't know if this is going to matter, but it's just kind of funny. So we go to reveal our set-aside Nemesis minion. Well, it's already in play. But we get the side scheme. So Mystique's Manipulations comes into play, and nothing happens till it's defeated, so that's fine. It has 2 threat on it. Not a big deal. And then these Misleds get shuffled into the encounter deck. Again, hopefully none of this matters, though. Oh, Shadows is going to surge because my Nemesis didn't come into play, so this is going to be like the 5th encounter card that we've seen this round. Okay. Next up is Shapeshifter Surprise. Shuffle this card into your deck and search. Why is this happening to me? At this point, I don't see why I even bother looking away. There's so many in here. I'm definitely going to see one. Okay. And that surges into just a plain old side scheme that's not going to do anything. Okay. 4 threat. If we defeat it, we get a minion. Probably not going to bother. So, but since Touched was on the villain, I did have Retaliate, so Mystique did lose her Tough. So there is that. Can we deal 7 damage? I think we probably can. I also feel like I forgot to take my damage from Clarity of Purpose last turn, so I'm gonna go ahead and take it now. I might have remembered, but I don't feel like I remembered. So we just need to deal 7 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, we can just win. We'll draw a card with the Mansion. We get the Jacket. Ooh, this comes aside. Now we can attack for even more. We use Going Rogue to put the Jacket down just so we have everything. We'll put Touched on a friendly character. So now Rogue is attacking for 3. Gambit's attacking for 3, so that's 6. And Ironheart attacks for 1. That's 7. That's enough to defeat Kang. And of course, I could have played Kalu and done other stuff as well. So there we go. Kang is down to 0. And there you have it. That was just really, really fun. Kind of struggled a bit in the middle there, but only because the deck gives so many options. It's hard for my puny brain to figure out the best way to play it, but you've seen, if you're smarter than I, you could probably do some really, really cool stuff with it. Either way, we got the win. Happy to see that. I'm always terrified of facing the Mystique modular, and we definitely got to see a good amount of it. I mean, 3 of the cards got shuffled in. Now, we didn't suffer much from them. We did draw them 1 Misled. But one of my practice games, I drew Shadows on the first turn, and having all the Misleds coming around and having both Mystiques jumping in and out of play at various times was more than I could handle. But that was the only time I've lost this matchup. Every other time I've won relatively handily. I could play again on Expert, but I think you've really seen what the deck does, and Kang makes for a long fight anyway, so don't want to make the video too long, but I have no doubt this deck could probably handle it. But either way, it's more about just that it's a really fun deck to play. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'm so thankful to Villain Theory for reaching out and asking me if I wanted to finish off this series that started on this channel, and I was very, very happy to do so and had an absolute blast. If you noticed any mistakes, any things I missed, which is very likely, I always miss at least a couple things, please feel free to leave them in the comments so everybody can know the proper way to handle things. And in the meantime, I thank you so much for joining me. It's been really fun getting to make a couple videos recently. You know, I've just been so busy lately. I've sort of taken a step back and trying to make some content whenever possible, but it's not happening as frequently as it used to. But it's been really, really fun getting to do a couple things here and there. So really appreciate you joining me, and I look forward to seeing you next time we get up in game. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.